Hi, and welcome to another video by Jimthecarguy. Today we got a 2010, it's a Mercury Mariner. We're going to be changing the front brakes and the front rotors. And the reason we're going to be changing them is I'm going to show you why they're actually pulsating and the back of the rotor is extremely rusty, so we're not going to be able to resurface it. We need to replace them. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to take this clip off right here. This clip is actually probably rusted because it's been on there for 70, 80,000 miles. You just take the clip and you push in on it just to break it loose, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to push in here and we're going to take the clip off. And you just take the clip and you pull it out and it comes right off. The whole thing is you're just releasing the tension on this clip and you pull it right out. Next thing we're going to do is you come around here in the back of the rotor here, the back of the caliper, and you loosen up the bolts in the back that hold the caliper to the car. Okay. And we're just going to take this off like this. And we're just going to relocate this off to the side for now. We're not going to leave it hang by itself. We're going to support it with a hanger off to the side. This comes right out of here. The next thing we're going to do is in the back over here, there's two 18mm bolts. We need to take out those 18mm bolts so we can take off this mounting bracket so we can remove this rotor. Alright, so let's break that loose and take it off. Take this bracket off, and we're going to use this later. And we can take this rotor off. Now I just want to point out something else here. When you look at the face here, you see how rusty this is? You need to clean off all that rust on there. If you don't clean that rust off, you're going to have a problem. So whether you do it with a razor blade, or you do it with a scraper, or whatever you're going to use, you got to clean it off. I'm going to use something like this here to clean all that rust off. So let me clean this off, and then we'll grab the new rotors, and we'll start putting everything back together. So let me clean it off, and we'll come right back. We're going to put the new rotor on. Very simple, just slide the rotor on like that. What I always do, just to make it a little bit easier, put a nut over it like this. This is just an old nut that's been laying around, and screw it on like this. The rotor will stay in position and it won't move around for you. If you're trying to juggle it around later on, it may be a little bit difficult for you to get it to line up properly. So all right, so now we have the rotor on. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remount our mounting bracket. Now before you put the mounting bracket on, every place that the brake pad is going to touch, you want to lubricate it really well. Good amount of grease on it makes everything slide nice and easy. If there's a significant amount of rust, you want to clean it off. If it's just superficial, it really doesn't matter too much. Just clean it up a little bit and put a little bit of grease on it, and you're good to go. All right, now put this back in here, and we're going to catch both bolts that we previously took out. Before you do anything, you catch them both. Before you tighten it up, you make sure both of them are caught and screw them in as far as you can by hand. Snug them both tight. Alright, and then we're just going to lock them down really tight. Now obviously if you have air, you can do it with air. If not, just tighten it up by hand. Alright, they're both tight. Alright, next thing we're going to do There's a little bit of grease on here. Don't worry about it. I will wipe that off. I want to point out that the rotor itself was cleaned off already because it comes with an oily film on it to keep it from rusting while it's in the warehouse. So I did clean it off with some brake cleaner and a rag. So this is nice and clean and ready to go back together now. All right. Next thing we're going to do is you're going to take your caliper and bring it over here. What you're going to do is you pull out the brake shoe itself. You just put your hand behind it and pull it, and it comes right out. What I always do before you do anything, put a little bit of grease on the back of the brake itself like this, because you're going to try to slide it into a rusty piston here, and sometimes a little easier when you have a little bit of grease on it. Makes it go in a lot easier. Alright, so now that one is back in all the way, the next one here, remember, was right inside there. I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on here like this, and like this. Same thing here. Put that brake shoe right in there. And then we're going to take this caliper, and we're going to slide it. Oh, let me just show you what I have to do here also. Wherever these slide pins go into the back of the caliper, these are the pins that you previously took out that hold the caliper in place. A little bit of lubricant on here is helpful. So that way they slide nice and easy. Same thing on this one here. A little bit of brake grease on here, like that. Put it back through. Don't push it too far. You just want to have it barely sticking so you can touch it with your finger, but that's about it. Alright? Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the caliper back on like this. Now, you see how that slid right back on because we pushed that piston all the way back in before with that pry bar. By going in here with that pry bar like that, we push that piston back in. If you didn't, then they make a tool to reset that. And basically what that tool is it goes like this. You hold it like this, take this brake pad here, you put it in here like this, and you put this tool in there, and you turn the tool, and it pushes the piston all the way back in. But that's not the case here. It's all the way in as far as it's supposed to go, so we're in good shape. So we're going to put the brake pad back there. We're going to lay our caliper back in here like this. All right? And now what we're going to do is you're never going to tighten these in with a ratchet. You only tighten them by hand. So you get in here, take your Allen key, put it on there, and you line it up, and you turn it in by hand. Make sure you don't cross-thread it. If you cross-thread it, you're going to have a big problem. You're going to wind up having to replace the bolts, the slide bolts, and you're probably going to have to replace your bracket as well. All right, so screw it in by hand only. And once you have it caught by hand, then you can tighten it up the rest of the way with your ratchet. But that's only after you catch it by hand. Nice and tight. Same thing on the bottom one down here. You're going to tighten it in the same way. Alright, so now we have those tight. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to reinstall those two covers that we had taken off to keep any road debris from going inside there. Alright, and last but not least, we're going to reinstall our rattle clip. Anywhere that this rattle clip touches, you want to put some grease on it. It touches here, and it touches here. And the way you put that clip back on, you catch it on the bottom like this, and you turn it, push it this way here, and like that, and you take this piece here, hook it on where it belongs, like this, behind it, and then you push this piece in, and it snaps right in place. Alright? So, catch this on here, and then you push this in, and it snaps right in. Alright, so that's it. Now this we can take back off. We're done with this. Everything is secured on and nice and tight. So we're just going to go over a couple of things now. I'm going to show you. Make sure you've done everything correctly and that the job is going to be perfect. Okay. Now we have you have the bolts underneath the bottom here. You have the 18 millimeter bolt right here that holds the knuckle to the mounting bracket and the mounting bracket to the knuckle. This is tight. The other one down the bottom over here is also tight. We have the caliper back in place here. We slid these bolts in by hand. We tightened them as far as they could go, both the top and bottom. We tightened them up. We popped those caps back in. We lubricated everything that goes on the. We lubricated every place that the brake pad touches is lubricated, and we put our rattle clip back on in this correct position, and we lubricated everywhere that rattle clip is going to touch also. All right, now the other side is already done, so we already completed our job. That's it. Next thing we're going to do is get in the car. We're going to pump the brake pedal up, and then we're going to take it for a road test to make sure it's okay. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.